Welcome everyone and happy Portugal Heritage Month. My name is Eduardo Lee Souza Lau, and on behalf of the Federation of Portuguese Canadian Business and Professionals, we would like to welcome our guest speakers and moderator to this series. Today's event sponsors and our corporate sponsors, thank you for your unwavering support. I thank the board for their input and to the curators for organizing this speaker series. I also acknowledge the founders, past presidents, and past boards for their dedication to the Federation. To the essential workers who continue to selflessly serve others, we all say thank you. Now let us begin with our moderator, Raphael Costa, Acting Director, Economic and Cultural Development at the City of Vaughan.
Thanks, Eduarda, and good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to just start by saying thank you, first of all, to the Federation of Portuguese Canadian Business Professionals for inviting this group of experts to come and speak to you today about adopting digital technology in your business. I'm personally thrilled to be amongst this group of experts. Just a reminder before we get into things and before I introduce them that June is Portuguese Heritage Month, and tomorrow, of course, is Portugal Day. Então, feliz dia de Portugal e das comunidades portuguesas. E vamos começar. I'd like to introduce first our panelist, Rashmi Hasham. Rashmi is the Director of Training and Certification at the Rogers Cybersecurity Catalyst at Ryerson University. Rashmi is a strong advocate for identifying and implementing unique training and employment opportunities to increase the representation of women in cybersecurity and other technology-related careers. Next, I'll throw the spotlight over to AnaBela Taborda. AnaBela is here in her capacity as chair of the Little Portugal BIA on Dundas Street West. But from my own personal experience, I know that she is a strong advocate for the community and has been for many years. So I'm really pleased to be working with AnaBela again. Next, we have Paulo Rocha. Many of you know Paulo as a 30-plus year banker, which means, of course, he started working at the age of 2. But what some of you might not know is that he is also a respected IT professional. Paulo's been helping small and medium-sized businesses with IT solutions for more than 18 years. And most recently, he has launched ezoNetworks, a full-service IT solutions company. And finally, last but not least, we have Antonio Silva. Antonio studied physics at the Universidade Nova de Lisboa, and he earned his MBA at the University of California, Berkeley. He has spent the last 6 years dedicating his time to helping small and medium businesses through partnerships. He spent 5 years at Square in San Francisco, and he's been with us here in Toronto for a little less than a year working at Shopify. As such, he is a newcomer to Canada, and he has been here for a little less than 1 year. So with that, I'd like to move into asking our panelists some questions. To begin, it's clear to us that COVID-19 has demonstrated that digital adoption it's no longer a nice to have. It's something that all businesses need to be on and need to be working with. But of course, one of the big challenges to get business owners digital and to get them adopting digital technology is their own skill set. Some business owners, of course, are a little older, like myself, or maybe don't have the training necessary or the skills necessary to adopt online technology. With that, I'd like to ask, maybe we can start with Rashmi. What her organization is doing to help business owners get the skills they need to become digital. Rashmi, can we ask you to start with that?
Absolutely. Thank you, Raphael. For what we're doing at the Catalyst is actually more around how we keep the organizations safe in their digital environment and providing training currently in cybersecurity for individuals who are looking to make that career change and wanting to be part of our public defense, defending our digital domain for communities, for our hospitals, for our governments, and for organizations, specifically small to medium businesses. And that's where we seem to see a lot of the threat landscape for cybersecurity breaches is coming through with as businesses are shifting to that digital domain. They seem to be a prime target, unfortunately, sometimes an easy target as they enter into that domain. So one of the things that we're doing is definitely our students who are actually mid-career changers are working with small to medium businesses and trying to identify that threat landscape. So it would be great if there is a business owner who's currently moving themselves into that digital platform, is not sure currently as to how is my data secure? Have I secured the different aspects of my customers' data. I would invite them to contact us and to be able to collaborate with one of our students in doing a threat landscape and really getting to see how we can help educate the business owners, as well as how do we start to create a plan for them around the technologies and
Great, thank you. I think that's a really it's really important. I mean, in terms of creating that plan and really understanding that threat landscape, I think that's definitely something for people to take away. Antonio, since you have quite a bit of experience in the tech sphere, what has your experience been with this in terms of making sure that business owners have the right skills, and if they don't, finding the resources to use digital tools?
Yeah, there's a couple of things, right? So Shopify, as some of you might know, has been in the small and business industry for a few years now, about 15 years, that have been really focusing on making the tools for you to run primarily an online business. Since then, a lot of other tools today exist that expand before the online, but Shopify is primarily known for that core piece of technology. And we're trying to make that entry into the online world extremely, extremely simple. So in a way, in a weird way, given all this work today, Shopify is almost made for the current world that we live in today. Is if we want to build an online business as a small business owner, what are the easy solutions that I can do? Now, when I say easy, it's never completely easy. We try to make tools as accessible as possible, but as you said, Raphael, not everyone is going to have that core set of skills. And unfortunately, because of the need that exists today in expanding your business into whatever your customer is, it's no longer a choice. So you either acquire those skills yourself to go in and take that plunge of getting on your computer, and I encourage everyone to do that, because once you start the process, you realize that there actually are way more complicated things out there. Like building a retail business in itself, payroll, paying employees, leases, inventory, which is very common for every entrepreneur. Those things are really, really hard. And many entrepreneurs have succeeded in that as well. The online world is another piece, but one should not be scared about that, because there's a lot of other very hard things that I know a lot of entrepreneurs have already succeeded in doing that. So this is an added one. I would say that also Shopify has what do we call an experts marketplace, which is a way for businesses to connect with individuals that are experts in either building an online store or online marketing and other pieces of information that could help the small business to get started into the online world. Either completely outsource that development, just literally paying someone to do that work for you, or pieces of it, right? So then you identify there's certain areas that you're not as versed in, and can you find someone that is reputable, that has done that service to other small businesses, and you can do it as well as your own.
Great, yeah, that's a really useful tool. And of course, Paulo, you also, I mean, that is the core of your business, right? Helping people get digital and come up to speed. What's been your experience with people's skill set coming into becoming digital?
As a society, I think we've been really, really good at adopting technology on a personal level, but on a business level, we've been a little bit slow to adopt all the technology that exists. And I'm not even talking just at small business, even big business, banks. Banks have been slow to adopt, work from home technology. And I think we as a society got a little bit flat-footed with COVID, but technology is there. It's fairly easy, but not simple to set up. And so, with ezoNetworks over the last little while since COVID hit, we've been really busy setting up secure remote work locations. So working from home, making sure that that work data is kept separate from personal information, and that it's kept secure, so that there's a secure link between all the remote locations and maybe the central office as well. So that's been keeping us busy, and then also setting up exactly what we're doing right now. So video conferencing studios in home. A lot of businesses are trying to set this up. It's been a little bit complicated because of the supply chain problems related to COVID. So a lot of the hardware needed for streaming and for video conferencing is sold out or on back order right now. But those two things right now primarily are what we're finding that we're the busiest at.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And I think from what I'm hearing, obviously security is something that that people haven't necessarily thought about when they are looking to go digital. But it's really interesting to hear about the connections that matter. And obviously, we're talking a little bit about digital connections in terms of infrastructure, but we're also talking about person-to-person connections, right? With certainly Rashmi talking about what her center does, and Antonio talking about the marketplace on Shopify, and Paul with the video conferencing. I think that's an interesting kind of segue into maybe what AnaBela is doing with the Little Portugal BIA. And I was wondering if we could pivot a little bit just to find out what each of your organizations are doing with your specific clientele, with your constituents. AnaBela, can you maybe share with us some of the things that the Little Portugal BIA is up to?
Well, the main one is we're trying to keep people informed of what exactly is available to them, encourage them, actually give them a hint. We have a couple of people that work with the BIA, our coordinators, and they are available to help them. We have, as you know, through the City of Toronto, we have Digital Main Street. They actually had approached half of our membership, and the half are more at the store level, because they definitely will not go and knock on the door of a multimedia company and ask if they need help. And it was interesting to find that for various reasons, only 11% of our membership is fully committed to online sales. COVID brought a little more awareness, but there's still a tremendous amount of concern. So what we're doing really is reaching out, giving a hand to see if we can get them to take that step and not be afraid, because yes, the world has changed. And I think we will continue to need to move in that direction.
Yeah, I think that's a really great point. And I think mentioning the Digital Main Street program, that's certainly a program that was Ontario-wide still is Ontario-wide. And I know that some of the offshoots of that have actually worked a little bit with Shopify. So Antonio, I was wondering if in the same vein, what Shopify specifically is rolled out new for COVID, or if there is anything new specific for COVID.
Oh, there's a lot actually, because what happened when the pandemic hit and we all had to go work from home in that moment, and we were seeing and we're still seeing the effects of it, right? And that moment, it was a bit of a jolt of energy internally to folks at Shopify, because we go in and come to work for this company because we believe in the small and medium businesses, and here we are with an incredible need of these businesses that are now need to become digital, need to go online. So what we ended up doing is looking at all these features that we had planned out for next year, 6 months, 2 years, 3 years, and saying like, what are the key things that we can push and try to do right now? And at that time was literally next week, next month, in 2 months. What can we do right now that could have a dramatic impact, right? So there were features that, again, these were things that were on our roadmap. Like these are obviously, we're always trying to develop these features regardless, but it made us accelerate and try to get them faster. Things like Shopify email, so connectivity with your buyers, try to send them marketing campaigns was really important. We released that. It's at no cost. I think there will be a cost at some point in the future, but we were trying to get out the door for merchants that have a list of emails of their buyers and tell them, hey, we now have a place where you can go. Our store is closed, but we have this online store that we just spin up and we could do it. And it was very useful. There were other things like gift cards, for instance. There was a campaign a while ago that tried to support businesses in basically prepaying for services in the future. We enabled that in the platform as well. Curbside pickup, huge as well, to enable that on our point of sale system as a very easy way for merchants that are closed from the public, but they can actually be in the store and open and service for curbside pickup. Those are just a few areas, and there's a few others that we're going to keep developing. And I encourage folks to actually see the website that we have on COVID, because there's going to be more and more features as we go in to try to help merchants get the tools that they need to survive in the world that it is today.
Great. And Rashmi, if we could circle around with you, I mean, what specifically is your center up to support the COVID effort?
Well, the first thing that we had to do was similar to what AnaBela is working on, is how do you take a very high touch business model and now create it into a high tech. And so Antonio's solutions have been great. What we've done at the Catalyst is we had to do a very hard and fast pivot. A lot of our training is in person. Our program is 30%, actually, sorry, 40% live courses where people come into our center. And they were designed to be that way. So we had to learn within a week, how do we turn this into a virtual opportunity? Along with our workshops, our in-live, conferences with several hundred people at any given time. So we had to really start to rethink and reimagine our environment of how do we still service and provide the opportunities that we are committed to providing for our students, for our clientele, and for our businesses. And we've had to teach ourselves that people are ready. They want to still be engaged. Our students and our businesses are looking for that engagement. So we moved our classes to virtual online live class delivery, along with more mentorship and just additional support, virtual support provided one-on-one. We moved to virtual live town hall sessions from our virtual events, as well as online classes. And we're still continuing to look at now what is the next evolution, because it's given us an opportunity to start to think about how do we leverage different technologies, create partnerships that we can start to expand and create sustainable programming. Before we were Ontario based, now we have an opportunity to have a national conversation to really leverage those technologies and opportunities for a very different type of engagement with individuals who we never would have reached before. So it was a hard and fast pivot. It was a quick change of thinking. And now we're embracing our planning into what does that look like ongoing now.
Yeah, I think that's there's certainly a lot of interesting stuff there. Paulo, you're very much on the front lines of this, and I think that unlike maybe the rest of us, you don't have the massive organization behind you. You have you and your team, but is there anything specific that you as a business owner are doing to help your clients with COVID-19?
Sure, absolutely. So on two different levels, what we've decided to do is much like the banks, we've also deferred our payments up until July 1st. So no payments have been made since, I guess, mid-March for our clients. And then as of July 1st, we're adopting until the end of the year. It's pay what you can until the end of the year, and then we'll figure things out next year. And maybe, amortize or, increase their monthly fees to offset what they didn't pay in 2020. So we're taking care of our clients that way. The other thing too is we're actually launching, we're hoping to launch tomorrow, a program where we will be offering free websites. So we're going to be offering a free website once a month until the end of the year for small businesses. And I think we're going to have different criteria. So we're going to have maybe, a junior one for people under 25, maybe, who want to start their own company and things like that. So we'll be offering a complete package with website, emails. And we're also hoping, we're in discussion with a couple of bookkeepers and some printers, so we can actually give these people a complete package to start with no cost, right? Or very, very, very minimal cost. So they'll have a website, they'll have emails, they'll have bookkeeping services and business cards ready to go I mean, I'm looking at something like maybe for $25 a month or something like that, or even less than that. So that's what we're looking. We all have to pitch in. It's a term that's overused, but we really are in this together. And I like to have small businesses helping out small businesses. I think there's small businesses understand small business problems. So if you can get a small business to help out a small business, I think it's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah, that's a really great point. I think that's the network and the connectivity that events like this create, I think, are hugely important for business and commercial survival. I thought we could pivot a little bit at this point, though, and really give our viewers an opportunity to maybe take some notes and understand exactly what it is they need. So if I'm a business owner and I'm not online at all and I don't know how to do it, I was wondering if maybe the four of you could spend a bit of time just compiling a list of all the things that you would need to put a business online. Maybe we can start with Antonio for that.
Yeah. The first thing I would say, like, since we are talking from the lens of someone that has a retail business, is you'll hear a lot of these words about e-commerce and payments and marketing, but I think it would be a better way to just think about it as a different storefront. Right? So if I'm a retail business and I want to build another storefront, in the physical world, that means finding a location. That means then putting your products out there. That means marketing to your customers. Somehow it may be actually just making the storefront pretty enough for people that pass by, right? All these things are not that dissimilar from the online world. And if I want to build that storefront online, well, I need to have a place for it. You'll find an e-commerce platform can be a way to do it, or you can have a company to actually build a website in many different tools. Regardless of what that is, now you have a presence, right? You have some kind of address that people can go, very similar you can do in the retail environment. Then you have to start thinking about, well, same way in a retail environment, I want to take payments of someone that come in to the door, and you think about having an actual physical point of sale and a card payments of some sort, and maybe have an agreement with the bank. That's not dissimilar, again, in the online world. You need to have a way to accept that payment. You need to have a secure embedded form of some sort, or you have a complete package that also already brings that over with you. And now you can accept payments, which you'll go through some kind of process. It depends a bit on the process that you select. Then finally, I would say a third, maybe I'll go into a fourth pillar as well, but a third one would be reach your customers where they are. Right? Now that you have a storefront, great, but how are people going to discover that website? Sure, you can email your customers if you have their email information. You can put it on your retail store if it is open and you're getting foot traffic for people to discover that storefront. But in a lot of ways, you should look at where people are passing their time. They're in Google, they're on Facebook, they're on Instagram, they're going on eBay and marketplaces. Wherever that is, your product should be there as well. Right? Your brand should be there as well. So you have to start thinking about how can I get my products there, and do I go directly to Facebook or Google and go through that onboarding process there, or do I find a way, which we have at Shopify as well, to go directly through that channel? The fourth pillar that I would call out is fulfillment. You need to get the product out to customers. Again, this feels obvious, but it's something that sometimes people overlook. That can be taxing. If you have a lot of orders, you can use your retail store as a fulfillment center yourself. So if you have a product in store and that's the product that you're selling, you don't have a lot of warehousing, this is it. Well, it makes it a little bit easier. We do have a lot of merchants that use their store as their fulfillment center, print out the labels, pack there, and send it over when the postman comes around, or go to the office like that, right? If you increase your orders, which would be a great sign, and you start having your location for fulfillment, and you even have an employee that dedicated just in doing that, then you want to start investing in some automated ways to do it, and some cost reductions that will happen at scale. A lot of these areas that I mentioned, Shopify ticks a box in a lot of them, but there's other ways for people to find out what's best suited for their business as well, because it also will depend if they're more in retail, grocers, the type exactly of business. It's natural that they're going to try to find what's more attuned to them and works well with them.
I'm just jotting it down. There's a lot there. Great. Paul, can we kick it over to you just to expand that list a little bit? Is there anything that you would add to that?
Sure, absolutely. I mean, so so obviously getting online is the first step, and that sounds silly, but considering what we're in 2020, but many businesses, especially in the Luso-Canadian community, have no or very, very limited online presence. So the first step is to get online, buy your own domain. So get your businessname.com.ca. Make sure you have that. Make sure you're not using Gmail. I'm a heavy proponent of, I mean, you can use Google services, just not Gmail as your business email address. I mean, if you want any kind of reputation, if someone sees your email, is a Gmail account, you may lose a little bit of points. And when you're online and it's a little bit harder, you don't have that physical closeness to kind of read somebody. So they're looking just at your website and they see your Gmail account as your email. They may choose not to do business with you. So those things I think are important. A couple other things I think that are super important today that sometimes get overlooked is chat. You want to be able to have clients reach you, like Antonio said, where they are, right? So if they're on your website, email, yeah, they can send you an email, but why not have a chat option right on your website so that, they can reach you or somebody that's monitoring chat and start a conversation right away. I think that's important. You can integrate Facebook chat with your website. I think it's a must in today's society. I also think that, setting up, I have clients who still have Rolodexes and they have these huge Rolodexes full of contacts, phone numbers, addresses. I mean, they know exactly where it is and how to get it. On the digital world, you really want some kind of a database where you can store all your contact information so that everybody in the organization has access to it. And then you can automate that as well, right? So if somebody sends you a request for a quote, you can automate it so that the system automatically replies on your behalf, thanks them for their quote, automatically sends that to one of your sales reps, and then follow up afterwards from there. So I think website, your own domain name with proper email, and then a contact management system or database and chat are super important.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, the contact management is something that I think often we overlook, right? And I think it's just kind of a second thought, right? Rashmi, I was wondering with some of your expertise. I mean, you must be thinking about a few different things that the businesses need to think about when they're adopting all of these measures that Antonio and Paulo have talked about.
So adding to what's been shared, I would definitely encourage for businesses to start looking at privacy and privacy in terms of I'm moving online. I'm going to start interacting with my customers. I want to build trust. So that trusted relationship that we would have in our high touch world. But now, when people start to move their businesses online and they want to communicate with their customers, they start to ask their customers a lot of questions around what's your birthday? Are you male or what's your gender? How often do you shop here? And a lot of questions that become privacy issues. And start to really think, why do I really need to know that information? And where am I going to capture this information? And where am I going to put it? And then how do I justify to the customer that I own this data of theirs? Because now you're dealing with personal private data that you're capturing, that you're requesting for an interaction that doesn't possibly ever need it. But businesses want to collect data. They want to get to know who their customers are. They want to know why people shop with them. And in that need for analytics, we seem to have crossed over into issues of privacy. So as a new business coming online, please, start to take a look at, why do I need to know this information about my customer, or what information do I really need? And now provide assurances to my customer that I am protecting your data. The next part is looking at that, once you've dealt with the privacy piece, is the trust piece of, I am now going to request for an online transaction to take place. And Antonio provided a solution through Shopify, which is a great platform. Paulo actually also discussed around, that interactive piece, but how am I going to charge you for this? And how do I authenticate that I am real? That what I am asking for you, I am not the hacker who set up a fake shop. I'm the real deal. So maybe looking at tools that authenticate the purchase, that provide you with a trusted relationship between you and your customer. So the customer knows that you are who you say you are. So those are the two main areas that my recommendation is for small businesses, is building your trust and the digital trust with your customer. Because the moment you establish digital trust, that is when you have repeat customers. And that is also when you start to see the referral business come back, because they had a good experience, they trusted you, and now they will come back. And that's probably one of the biggest hurdles that small businesses currently face as they start to enter the digital domain.
Yeah, that's certainly interesting. And I think it got me thinking a little bit, Bella, maybe about your context and with all this, with all the new technology available and all the new business models to be adapted. You work very much in a bilingual context, and I'm wondering if you would add anything, given that context, to the list of things that were talked about.
I think so. I think one of the things that I would start, and I would say to a business, if they are considering going online, is do a business plan. Who is it that you're trying to target? Is it Portuguese? Is it English? One thing is to have a door open, and anybody that comes in, I will serve. The other one, who am I going to focus on? Or is it everybody? Especially here on Dundas, where you do have people that only speak Portuguese. There are businesses out here that we help on a daily basis that don't understand English all that well, and yet they can have online presence. That doesn't mean that they won't be able to service both languages, but I think the most important thing is, what is your goal? What are you trying to do? How are you going to adapt as you go online and you find that it's a different type of business completely? So yes, you do need all the things that have been mentioned. You need excellent partners. You also need trust from the people that are providing you with the IT services, with the financial services, and you need to be able to communicate. So that would be, I think, here, one of the issues that I find to be the toughest. People seem to be quite at ease with Facebook, which is quite interesting, and then they block when it comes to anything else. And yet it's the same keyboard and the same screen that we're using for everything. And they seem to have great difficulty on breaking that shell and actually then being able to talk to somebody. But I think if there's a good business plan and understanding of where you're trying to go and what you're trying to do, it is quite doable.
I think that brings up a really interesting point, because one thing that I'm hearing when I hear this list is, at least I know in my work, a lot of businesses ask, well, geez, that sounds like a lot, right? And I'm really used to working a specific way. I'm really used to delivering my services a specific way. First of all, I guess it's a bit of a two-parter, and maybe I'll just open it up to the group. The first part is this going to cost a lot of money? Is this very expensive? And the second one is just maybe more of a from your experience, how will this change business in the future? How will this change how we deliver services to our customers?
Raphael, if I may, I'd like to also share a quick anecdote of at Shopify and I think we've said this publicly, but we think that, or we say this internally, that 2030 just got pulled over to right now. We want to believe that everything's going to go back to normal. I think I share that. I think we all do. It would be great if that was the case, and we can hope. But personally, I think that's a bit of wishful thinking. I think the world has changed, and it won't go back to normal, or what we think normal is going to be different than what it was right now. That is not to say that we cannot have a very successful small business with the practices that they've been successful for the last 15 or 20 years. It's completely possible. They have a good product. They have a good customer base. They've been able to adapt somehow. I mean, that is possible. I'm not being fatalist in that way. But what I'm saying is that to be a hyper successful business in the future, to really stand out, it will require those efforts of digital. It will require those efforts of finding the customer where you are. And you need to find that adaptability. But I would say that building an actual physical business, in my opinion, is way harder and way more expensive with a lot more risk than trying out an idea and a website online and pulling that up. So for someone that already has put in all that effort and paid those dues and actually now knows how to sell, right? Now I know what product, what that is. I know what that service looks like. I've been successful at doing so. So that should only inspire you the confidence of taking that leap, not the other way around. If it's a complete net new business, that will be another aspect. But the costs of the online world and the iterative way that you can try out, because you can change your website, you can move things around. It's a fraction of the costs that exist in the physical world.
Sorry.
No, please jump in.
Just adding to that, I think we've seen a lot of small businesses embrace pieces of that digital world. You know, we've seen the restaurants step up, and they partnered with Uber, they partnered with Skip. We're seeing them finding new modes of saying, I'm going to enter this realm in a way that I never imagined I would. I'm going to learn it because it is important for me to thrive. And they're finding their way through. So we see these smaller or the restaurants coming up. And I think, you know, if we look at the food industry as maybe they've taken a leap of faith for many restaurants that were never part of that. They've taken a complete leap of faith to exist and that desire. So maybe for other businesses to look at that model and to say, what is our model in that digital realm that is low cost, but yet high, allows us to touch many that we could never have touched before. And to start really thinking about that, because there are platforms that exist that allow for you to go in small steps and to test and keep testing without having to make that big investment. So yeah, I would definitely encourage people to start looking at what are those models that are out there right now and what platforms are inexpensive.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting point. I think that's something that it actually ties into a question coming in from one of the viewers, which is if you're looking at advertising, right? Just a really tactical kind of question. Should you be, or how do you decide whether or not, even given today's context, first of all, do you invest in social media or do you invest in print media? And if you invest in social media or print media, which platform, right? Like is Instagram the best? Is Twitter the best? Is Facebook the best? And how do you decide that? Maybe Paul, if you don't mind if I ask you to kind of kick that off a little bit.
Sure. I mean, all of those are good. Which one's the best? It really depends on your target market. I mean, I'm a heavy believer in online marketing, but not even just to the extent of, you know, Facebook ads and Instagram ads and TikTok ads, not even just at that level, but, you know, getting involved in online communities and letting people know what your expertise is and what your products are online. I think those are huge. But I also think that traditional media plays a key role as well, right? So while we may not, you know, pick up a newspaper like we used to any longer, I still think that most of us, because we don't get that much anymore, but the mailers that we drop off in mailboxes, you know, those little flyers, the paper-based flyers, right? We don't get those anymore. So when we do get them, we actually we read them, right? Whereas if it's an email, well, we get tons of email, and sometimes we get bombarded with emails. We may not look at the email at all, right? So I think all of those are good, and each one of them brings brings a little piece to the entire puzzle of online marketing or marketing in general. But I think, you know, Facebook and Instagram, depending on your target market, YouTube, you know, there's a big push right now online to inform people, to give away free advice, right? Whereas if you're giving advice away for free, you're going to be seen as an expert in that field. And so even though you're not charging for that advice, the reciprocal business that you get from it can be huge, right? So a mechanic showing someone how to do an oil change at home, right, is an example. I mean, you know, you would think logically that might not be a good move, but he's seen now or he or she are seen as an expert in oil changes or whatever it might be, and there's a lot of business being generated online, not so much on the aside from the marketing part, just on the free information part as well.
Yeah, that's a great point. AnaBela, I was wondering if you could weigh in on this, given what you said very, very wisely about a business plan. What are some of the elements that would be in that plan to help you understand whether Instagram is best for you, or Facebook is best for you, or, you know, showing someone how to do an oil change on YouTube is best for you, or just running an ad in a newspaper?
In the newspaper. I think the main thing is that all of these platforms, and we can add Twitter in there as well, have different types of people that look at them and that benefit from them. I find, for example, right now, this is becoming extremely useful, and this is in the Mimico area, where some local residents have started Let's Help Our Businesses Facebook groups, and they actually become extremely creditable because they are the ones, it's the consumer that's doing it. However, let's not fool ourselves, the business owner is behind it, feeding the information in order to be able to get that exposure. Here on Dundas, I know that there are some community groups there. It is a bit difficult because when we're talking about the business plan and when we try to actually speak to some of the older business owners that have a hard time with technology or accepting technology, they sort of touch it and then run away. They have major issues actually with cybersecurity because they don't even understand that they have to turn off their banking platform before they allow people to use their computers, and some of them get hacked really, really badly. Having said that, that doesn't mean that these people could not be online, and actually a lot of them are already on Facebook and Instagram. So if we break that shell and get them to really understand that what they're doing for fun can actually be something that, well planned, can help their businesses, I think there could be a lot of momentum created even on the older ones. And I think that all of these platforms have a lot to offer. It depends really where you're comfortable and where your friends, you feel your friends are going to.
Yeah, thanks for that. And I think it's, I mean, what I'm hearing, of course, is, and this is something we all know, that, you know, work is changing, right? How we buy, how we sell, how we do our day-to-day jobs is different, right? Whether you're a small business or whether you're a big business like Shopify. I guess two questions coming off of that. First is with that kind of sudden shift, what are some of the risks? I mean, we made that list of things that a business would need to go online, but what are some of the risks of that? I'm wondering if we could maybe start with Rashmi on that question.
You mean like the risks of we've all shifted and we're working at home and all our technology is sitting in our homes, easily now hackable, to put it in the best way. We see situations and stories constantly that during the time right now is the time that hackers are the most active that we've ever seen. And they're finding their way through our home networks. networks. We're doing work, we're protecting our IP, our unique intellectual property, or we're conducting, to AnaBela's point, the shopkeeper's checking his bank account, leaves it open, and they tunnel through your home Wi-Fi because they're sitting outside your house and they can tunnel in very easily because of our security protocols are very low at home. Because we don't think of our home as being the fortress that it should be. But this is where all the data is residing for work, for our business finances, our communications with our employers and employees, to our associates, customer data. And then we also have our home finances potentially residing on exactly the same laptop with the same passwords on the same Wi-Fi network. So we need to really secure our home network the way that you go around your house every day and you lock the doors at night and you alarm the house. You got to figure out how to do that with your digital presence within your home. It's also, we're starting to see a lot of kids using the parents' home laptops, and they're opening up portals that they shouldn't be. They're gaming, they're downloading onto those work laptops. And again, that is becoming a key vulnerability. So even if you're running your small, medium business from home, those are areas that you need to seriously consider as to how do you fix it? How do you improve those networks? And it's great that we have Paula on, who he can provide some of that insight. But you really have to start to look at, what have I left open? Have I updated my cybersecurity? Even a simple thing when you get a pop-up that says you need to update your laptop, because that right there is telling you that there is a known threat, and a system is asking you to update itself to protect you from a known threat. So those are some of the things that you can do immediately on your own, but be aware always as to what that open door looks like, because it could be a crack.
I think we lost Raphael.
I think we did.
I think you have a very good point that people don't understand, and like even younger people don't understand the dangers of public Wi-Fi and not changing their passwords. For God's sake, change your password as many times as you possibly can do it. Use complex. If you can't keep your passwords in your head, use a password keeper. Use something that will help you. And definitely your home, as you said, it is so very true. It's your castle. So if you do not protect that Wi-Fi, you're in trouble. And change it. Change it often as well.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I mean, I'm a big proponent on complex passwords. I mean, if you talk to anybody that I talk to, I'm always hammering complex passwords. Use a password manager. Use two-factor authentication.
Mm-hmm.
It's a pain. It's a pain. Security is a convenience trade-off, right? The more secure you are, the less convenient it becomes. And then there's that trade-off where if it's too secure and you're not going to use it, well, that's no good either, right? So you can get add-ons for Chrome and for Firefox that'll completely block external JavaScript code and things like that. But if it just breaks all the websites that you visit and you can't visit websites, well, then you're not going to use it. And if you're not going to use it, then you're not secure, right? So there's a trade-off there, but definitely, Rashmi nailed it when she said, updates. I mean, most hacks today are caused because one of three things, right? Which is unpatched software, so software that hasn't been updated, weak passwords or passwords that have been reused. And we were talking, I think, offline a little bit about this. And there's websites where you can go in to see if your email has been hacked before or has been involved in the security breach before. And then the third, and so you got the patching your software, you got the passwords, and then clicking on links that you shouldn't be clicking on. it's that quick. You may just click on one link and either through email or going to a website, and a funny little ad comes up or something like that, and it's that quick, and your system can be compromised. And today, I mean, I think phishing scams are up today over the last 3 months. Ransomware is up over the last 3 months. Mobile attacks are up. I mean, that's the new big thing recently is, they're finding that people are working from home, and they know that mobile phones are usually less secure than a laptop or computers. So yeah, absolutely. Those 3 things there, and you should be okay. But it's a trade-off. Security is a trade-off.
Thanks, Paul. So I'm back, everybody. I apologize. Speaking of technology issues, I had a technology issue, but I am back now. I was wondering, this might be a good time to just kind of ask the question. I was preparing to ask this, of course, as my home network went down. But is working from home here to stay? Is this something? And if so, what do we have to do to secure ourselves, to make sure that moderators' internet connections don't go down? Maybe we can just go around the circle.
I don't know about I don't know about your second part, but the first part, just say that at least from a Shopify perspective, so it's not a statement for the overall society, but for a Shopify perspective, we've decided that we are going to be digital by default as a company. And what that means is that we're going to be, the vast majority of the employees of Shopify across the globe are going to be remote. This is my remote office. Once everything goes back to that quote unquote normal, this is still going to be my home office. So this was a very purpose decision that the company made. Will have implications for sure in many, many ways. We all have to adapt. Now we've been a few months working remotely. This is, we hope, the worst version of working remotely. We can only get better and better because we'll improve. The technology needs to improve. The internet connections that everyone has in their houses, all these other things. But one thing that has helped with this decision from an employee perspective is by deciding and stating that we are not going back to the office. If there are people that were punting that decision of getting fast internet, or punting that by purchasing of that office chair, or clearing up the desk that they had, now they have to do that, right? It from a Shopify perspective, it is here to stay. I think that many other companies will have a version of this of some sort. Maybe they'll not go all the way into working remote by default, but I think we're all going to find out that many companies and many employees are going to find out that they can operate in a productive environment by working remotely, and there's advantages in doing that as well on the personal level. So I think it's going to be way more common to work remotely, which will have implications in businesses as well, these heavy downtown businesses. What it's going to be exactly in downtown, but the benefit of the more suburban areas where people used to live, having now more people around, right? So there's going to be a little bit of a shift that it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen.
Yeah, and I wonder, maybe Rashmi, you could chime in with this, because I know, given your work at your center, you do some work on the future of work, correct?
So as we're starting to prepare for fall, the university, so outside of the Catalyst, because we're all virtual, and my team is 100% virtual now. But the universities and higher education are having to make interesting decision points right now. How do you bring back thousands and thousands of people into your buildings? And so no perfect answer has been created. No answer has been created as to what the fall will look like. But as we start to look at the future of work in cybersecurity and additional opportunities that come out of it, definitely there's an impact on commercial real estate. And what does that look like to the economy? We're so heavy on commercial real estate opportunities. So that's going to be interesting. A lot of companies and organizations are moving to a hybrid model. Some employees work on days 1 3 and 5, they can come into the office. Other employees will come in on day 2 and 4. How do you decide who's coming in, or do you just say you come in when you want to come in if you need that that interaction with your colleagues? So I think we're starting to realize that we can work from home. Not all of us were prepared, so there was that initial upheaval, but now we're settling in. We're settling into finding out what are the gaps that we need filled from technology. So banks, for example, were not ready for their masses of thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of employees working and accessing their VPNs. How do you now change that at those access points and make them secure? How do you ensure that your people who are going to still be home have those technology points to, like the way Antonio was saying, do you have a home office? Do you have the right chair? Do you have the right tools? Because it's now more cost effective for me to give you those tools than to ask you to come into the office. So we're going to see a big radical shift in how we work, but as much as creating hyper communication, so we communicate a lot. We're learning to communicate more effectively all the time just to stay connected. But we are going to start to be challenged now. How do you innovate? Because we innovate collaboratively as humans. So how do you innovate when we're together? How do you innovate now when we're not together? That's going to be our next challenge, is how do we do rapid innovation continuously?
Yeah, those are, thanks for that. And we've got just a little more than 2 minutes left. And maybe I'll give the last word to Paul, because he was, Paulo was nodding his head emphatically that the work would not be going back to what we expect it to be. Paul, can you maybe give the last word to you?
I really don't think it will. I think Rashmi is correct. I think commercial real estate is in trouble. The banks, banks have probably wanted to go virtual for their employees for a long time, but it costs money. COVID just forced it on them, right? So now they've done it, and they have no choice. The infrastructure, they're setting their infrastructure in place. Once it's there, it doesn't make any sense to have all these people come in. I mean, there's a lot of benefits to society in general by not having people come to downtown core, right? So you're going to have people who must go down. So manufacturing, people in healthcare, people who have to go to a central location. There's going to be less cars on the road. That's a great thing, right? So the commute's going to be less. So that's a beautiful thing. I think it's also going to just expedite 5G that much more, right? I mean, 5G is going to come quicker than later. It's here, or well, the technology's out there. I think it's going to be implemented a lot sooner than it would have been if there wasn't COVID. And finally, just to get to your second point, and sorry, Rashmi, I know you're with Rogers, but did you know that you can actually have both Rogers and Bell? And so if one goes down, the other automatically kicks in, and you'll always be connected, right? So it's the technology that we have today is beautiful, right? I mean, it allows us to be connected, stay connected. Maybe too much, but no, it's great.
Thank you, and thank you, Paul. And I think that's a great way to wrap up. I want to just wrap up quickly by thanking the Federation, thanking our panelists, reminding the viewers that the Federation's next and final panel will focus on mental health and wellness, and it will be taking place on June 23rd at 5 p.m. Please mark your calendars. For more information, visit FPCBP.com. Once again, thank you to our sponsors, MDC Media, ezoNetworks, and Camões TV. With that, thank you very much. Feliz Dia de Portugal e obrigado a tudo.
What's up, everyone?